Hello friends, how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is going to be another anti-haul. I've been having a lot of fun doing these every like 3 or 4 weeks or so. I think they're fun. I find it quite enjoyable to be petty about makeup, and I've been loving hearing your opinions on these as well as I've been doing this series. I initially got this video idea from Abby Williamson, who got her video idea from Kimberly Clark. I will of course have both of their channels linked down below. Before we get into the anti-hauling, I did of course film this look. It should already be up on my Instagram and TikTok by the time this video goes up. And let me just give you my accessory details. These plugs are from Hear No Evil Jewelry on Etsy. You can use my code battybean for 10% off. And this necklace was a gift from my mother-in-law. So without further ado, I don't want to ramble too much in this intro. Let's just get on into the makeup roasting. I'm gonna do a little scooch here so I have room to insert some pictures on the screen. Let's dive into it. I have a decent amount of things to talk about. Some things are pretty horrendous. Some things are just not for me. On occasion, it's mostly I'm just trying to talk myself out of it. It's not necessarily a horrible release, although I don't think I really want any of these. So I don't think any of these I'm gonna be talking myself out of because I already have no interest. Once in a while, people get offended at anti-hauls. It's really not that serious. If any of these releases speak to your soul, I am thrilled for you, love that for you. These are just not for me, and I think it's funny to talk about them. All right, first things first, the Lucky Charms collection from Morphe. I already don't really shop at Morphe, and I just feel like Morphe does everything they possibly can to release a rainbow palette. I feel like they release rainbow palettes so often, and you can only do it so many times, you know? I feel like this was such a pointless release. They've done rainbows a zillion times. I vibe with the Lucky Charms theming. I think that's kind of cute, but I just feel like this was so boring and so unbelievably unnecessary. Oh, on the topic of boring and unnecessary, Too Faced, what is this? What is this? This is the Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette. Are we back in 2017 YouTube days? This is just so boring. It's so monotoned aside from the 3 darkest shades towards the right side of the palette, but the first 4 mattes are so similar. Really, the first 5 are so similar. Yeah, this is just so boring. I feel like there's nothing exciting here. This is nothing new. This is nothing I need at all. And I just feel like this is such a lazy, boring idea. I feel like I'm segueing into these different ones so easily. On the topic of lazy and boring ideas, the new California Girls Blend and Cleanse set from Beauty Blender. This is just their basic pink beauty blender with sunglasses stamped on it. Like, please do not buy a $20 beauty sponge. It's just not necessary. I used to be the person that did. YouTube convinced me that the Beauty Blender was the end all be all. It is truly not. There are so many affordable sponges out there. I love the Juno & Co sponges. I've been using one from Salon Cosmetics that I love, and I think it's only $5. Real Techniques has good sponges. There are so many good affordable sponges out there. You do not need a $20 one, and you definitely don't need a $20 one that just happens to have sunglasses. And really, you can't even get this for $25 because it's a whole set, so you're gonna end up spending more money anyways. So yeah, I just feel like this is lazy and boring, and Beauty Blender has no good ideas. I'm just gonna say it now. This next one, I just don't like it. At all. This is from the brand Beauty Creations. This is the new Ariel palette, like the Little Mermaid themed palette. I hate this. I feel like I do not get Little Mermaid vibes from this. I feel like it's way too large. I think this could have been condensed down to at least half, if not smaller, and it would have given more of that color story than this. It feels very jumbled. It feels repetitive. I think the artwork is so just cheesy. I'll post a picture also of like just the front cover. This is so lazy to me. I think it's not the best. I'm not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination, but even I know that this is just not it. It literally looks like something that someone would have made in like maybe a middle school graphic design kind of intro class or something, like a little special area sort of class, like a computer class. You know what I mean? This is just not it. I think it's just not quite right. It needs some editing for sure. Absolutely for sure. You know, Tarte and Too Faced are just always the easiest brands to roast, and we have another Tarte palette to talk about. This is the Tartelette Blush in Bloom Amazonian Clay Cheek Palette. I would almost be willing to bet on my life that this has been released at least 5 times from them before. I feel like they do have a good blush formula. I used it back in the day. I have not used it recently, so I can't really compare based on my taste now. But I remember it not being a bad formula, but I feel like they always release the exact same colors. They have no range, no diversity, uniqueness, nerves and talent. Just kidding. Who works at Tarte? Does anyone even work at Tarte? I feel like it's just the same 3 people that have always been there doing the same thing since the beginning of time. They don't do anything new. Nothing is exciting, and I swear they've launched these blushes before. At the very least, I swear these must exist in singles because they look identical to everything they've already released. This one I was semi-interested in, but then I was able to talk myself out of it pretty quick because it just did not have the mattes that I needed. This is the new eyeshadow palette from Dominique Cosmetics. It's called the Moment palette. I actually really do want to try her brand. I just haven't really been sucked into anything yet. And I love the look of the shimmers on these. I thought they were really pretty. They seemed like they had a good wetness and glitz to them, but the mattes just don't do it for me. I do not need a white matte, a beige matte, a brown, and kind of like a rosy brown. This is just not for me. I feel like this palette needed a blue matte. Like, it would have kicked it up another notch. It would have made it that very half neutral, half blue kind of situation. I think that would have been really pretty. Still maybe not totally for me, but I think it would have added a little something extra. This palette's just falling a little flat. I feel like when the mattes don't have the range of depth that I need, or even sometimes the pop of color that I need, it just makes me feel very limited. And I know maybe the average everyday makeup consumer would be into this because it's your neutrals that are safe to wear, quote unquote, work appropriate, quote unquote. But I just feel like this needed a little extra spice. So there's that. I do like the packaging though. I think it's really pretty. Okay, this next one. This is the new Norvina Pro Pigment Palette Volume 6. So the thing is, I'm gonna start by saying I don't think this is an exact like replacement for the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette, but there are a lot of similarities. I've seen pictures floating around of swatch comparisons. I think Make Me Up Missa posted like a comparison that's been floating around on Twitter, and some of the shades are quite similar, although Blend Bunny has a much better formula from what I understand. I have not tried Norvina's formula. I'm not really interested, but Blend Bunny's formula is so superior. And I feel like the Surge palette did this vibe, but did it better. This is not the exact same. Again, the Surge has the perfect gradient of pastel, light, mid-tone, dark, and deep. This kind of skips a few of those ranges. It doesn't go nearly as pastel or nearly as deep. It just kind of has that mid-tone with the pops of neon. But Surge just does it better. So I definitely don't need this. I feel like if you have the Surge, you don't need this. If you don't have this but you're interested, just get the Surge because you don't need this. And also, I do not like the cover art for this. I think it's also kind of lazy and cheesy. I love me a space theme, don't get me wrong. I love aliens, planets, stars, the moon, all that good stuff, but I just feel like this is kind of cheesy and it's not really my thing. So those are my thoughts on that. Next up, this is from Kylie Cosmetics. It's the Kendall X Kylie 2.0 collection. This literally looks like a smaller version of one of the Lorac Pro palettes that I definitely bought in like 2016 because YouTube told me to. This just feels very dated. It doesn't feel like anything new or exciting, which it's from Kylie Cosmetics. That's not surprising. She very much stays in her bubble of what she likes. But yeah, this literally made me think of an old Lorac Pro palette. If you know, you know. And I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was hilarious. This one, it's like I don't hate this release. It's definitely not for me, but this release also just feels a little dated. It's only gonna work for a very specific group of people, and that is the new Fenty Sunstalker Bronze and Highlight palette. I feel like bronzer and highlight palettes, again, were all the rage back in like 2016, 2017. I feel like there's a lot of old school type releases in this video, wow. These just are not practical unless you're a working makeup artist. You can only use so many of the shades as one person with one skin tone. So if you buy this, you're only gonna use a chunk of it. This is not gonna be worth it to buy unless you are a working makeup artist. I do like the Fenty bronzers a lot. Into Sun is one of my favorite bronzers in my collection, and the How Many Carats Diamond Balm is one of my favorite highlights. No idea if this highlight formula is that buttery, glossy, wet formula at all, but I would just recommend buying the singles if you're interested in trying Fenty. This does feel appealing because it's $48 for so many shades, right? But trust me, you're not gonna use most of these shades because you only have one skin tone. Okay, this collection. This is from She Glam Official. This is Shein's makeup brand, which I'm not super interested in trying out, but I did just want to chat about this collection because I think it's horrendous. This is the Sunday Picnic collection. The theme, so cute. I love that idea. I think that is adorable, especially for spring. I like the kind of checkered packaging. It looks like a picnic blanket, but the insides are just so boring. The palette specifically, why is it 8 shades of pretty much the same shade of brown? This feels like an April Fool's joke, but this literally got revealed before April Fool's. I just think this is so lazy and it's just not it. Who needs 8 shades of not very different matte browns? They definitely have a gradient. There's light to dark. Don't get me wrong. They're not the exact same shade, but it's just boring. Why is there no color in this? We could have had like different fruit colors, even a red to go with the packaging. Lip oils don't look bad. They have like at least some color to them. And what are these? The cheeky color jams. Those are also really cute. Different shades of red. Why is the palette so darn boring? I don't even know. That's just awful. Oh, but what's even more awful is this XX Revolution and Powerpuff Girls collection. This palette is the ugliest palette I've seen so far this year. I absolutely hate it. I think this is so jumbled and messy. I cannot stand that the palettes are all these different mismatched shapes for the different girls. I think it's horrible. I like that like each girl has their own color story. I think that's kind of cute. Why are they all different pans? This looks like such a badly edited, jumbled Photoshop picture that somebody like made up, like a fan made palette or something, but a bad one. I just hate this. I hate every bit of it. I cannot stand it. I think it is absolutely disgusting. And again, the color stories themselves aren't horrible. I think they represent the girls nicely. It's just ugly. It is so, so ugly. Way to make a semi-cute set of color stories ugly. And last but not least, I just saw this one either last night or the night before. This is from Rock and Roll Beauty. It's a new brand and they're coming out with their first collection inspired by Jimi Hendrix. And I just feel like this is so boring. For one, I don't know if Jimi Hendrix would have wanted this. I don't think so, but I didn't know him obviously, so who knows, maybe this would have been right up his alley, but I just don't think so. It's just boring, and I hate that one of the palettes is shaped like a guitar. I've told you that's one of my pet peeves, especially with some of my Spoiled Lips palettes where I love the insides. I just don't love the shape of them because they're awkward to store. It's not ideal, and this is the most awkward thing to store ever. So round and floppy, not stable. The color stories inside of everything is just so boring and so flat. This is just not it, and I don't know. I don't really know much about this brand. I haven't really heard anything yet because they just came out, but so far I don't think that this is the best start, in my opinion. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that is it for this anti-haul today. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything that I talked about. I think there were some pretty boring releases, a couple horrific things, but there's also been some really cool things coming out lately. I've been shopping a lot. I did a makeup wish list video like 3 weeks ago or so. I'm probably not gonna do that kind of video super frequently because I'm actually pretty picky with what I would put on my wish list. I try to be really selective. I'll probably do one of those every 4 or 5 months or so, but in the meantime, I'm gonna continue doing these anti-hauls because I enjoy them, you seem to enjoy them, and I think it's funny to just kind of pick on makeup a little bit. It's not that serious. At the end of the day, it's just colorful creams and powders that we put on our face, and sometimes we can laugh about stuff. And again, we all have different preferences. If you loved all of these, I love that for you, but these are just not for me, and I wanted to just have some fun. If you made it to the end of this video, why don't you leave me some emojis that you hate? Keep with the anti-haul theme. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me on my other socials. You can join the battybean fam. I am battybean on everything, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you want, you can subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I'm posting most days over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.